Good evening. It is the evening of Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2024. And we've got Colin Baker in the chat. We've got Sutton Steve. We've got Billy Kershaw. We've got Diz. Great news for Sarah. Sarah Davis. This is for you. This is for you. If it will actually work. Oh, it's not actually set up to do it on here. Hang on 1 second. Just bear with me. You know what's coming, don't you? You know what's coming. You sure know what's coming. Surely by now you know what's coming. It is confetti! Yay! Sarah's found somewhere to live. Woo! Yeah. Great news. Absolutely fantastic news. Woof! Okay, so just waiting for Ollie to rock up. My fault. I've only just sent in the link, so it's not Ollie's fault for being late. It's mine for not getting ready in time. Literally just... I finished writing. I write in the afternoon. I did a bit more writing after I'd finished writing, and then I sent a couple of anecdotes to a mate of mine who was with me when the things happened that I was talking about, just to make sure that our memories kind of synced up. And he's like, well, it's near enough, which is always good. So yeah, and then I've just stuffed a load of food in my face and literally sat down. And then here I am. Hello. I don't get much of a break on this channel. But we're going to be talking today about Putin to start with. I mean, obviously we're going to be talking about other stuff that's going on around the world. But Putin's foreign minister, Mikhail Galuzin has threatened the possible use of nuclear weapons in response to NATO deployment in Finland and Sweden. Because, you know, that's sensible, isn't it? Oh, they're doing some, things to protect their country from us invading because we're evil and we keep invading our neighbours. Like, you know, Georgia and, you know, you could argue Dagestan and Chechnya and obviously, you know, Ukraine. So, you know, the countries around Russia, which isn't big enough because it's the biggest country in the world, but it's not big enough. They need a bit more space, right? And so the countries around Russia are like, fuck off. And so in response to that, they're going to use nuclear weapons, apparently. I don't believe this for 1 second that they're going to use nuclear weapons because I don't believe that they've been looking after their nuclear stockpile good enough, long enough for it to actually, you know, be able to do anything. I think it's all falling apart and it's full of earwigs and mice. Hello.
What's that I hear? Another threat from Russia.
Another empty threat from the big empty gong of emptiness that is Russia. So yeah, you know, like you get a Russian doll. So imagine there's a Russian doll, right? And then you open it, right? And then inside there's nothing. That's Russia. Okay, so
the thing is that they've been doing this since like day one. Like, oh, if you do this, if you send missiles to Ukraine, we'll get out the nukes. If you do that, we'll get out the nukes.
Indeed,
it's just saber rattling again and again and again.
Anyway, Ollie Bowlerhatman, how are you doing this fair evening?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Yeah. Oh, press the wrong button. I pressed the super chat button. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, put my name up. We're going to be talking a little bit tonight about Putin losing his grip. They've lost an area twice the size of Birmingham in the last couple of months. They're not doing so well. They're not doing
doing well at all. I mean, have you seen something? Have you seen the Zelensky's put forward peace talks?
Yes.
Again today.
Again today.
This week as well.
I did read his letter
forward again
last week. I read the whole letter online.
So they've put those again out. Hey, if you want peace, then we're ready to talk. And of course, Putin is not ready to talk at all. You know, he wants to achieve his objectives. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff. If you ever want to like get a good idea what's going on in Russia, Steve Rosenberg, I think his name is, from the BBC, is really started to recently do a lot of reports about this is what's being said in Russian newspapers today, which are quite interesting to hear about, especially from that angle. You know, from like a Western like perspective, reading like Russian newspapers. But there's been a lot of like newspapers more and more questioning like what are they actually fighting for? Is any of the stuff they're asking for like achievable? You know, have they lost? There's stuff about, again, the loss of life that Russia is getting into. um,
Yeah.
like 1,000 people, like almost a day in some cases. Some of the reports again, if they were to believe, of course, they're coming from the Ukrainians, but the loss of life is something like over 300,000, which makes it like the single biggest like loss of life I think in a war in Europe since like World War II.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah,
It already
it's
is. Yeah.
they cannot continue. I think this too long, especially Russia. I think the sanctions are really sort of starting to bite in on them. Their economy is literally constantly on a tightrope,
Yeah.
and it can only take like one significant disaster to trip it. Or you've got business rates and business loans that are like completely going belly up in Russia. Um, I think you've got more and more as we're starting to see more like politicians starting to come out and maybe start to see that Putin is maybe not as strong as they initially thought
Yeah.
he was. So that could be interesting to see how that goes. Um, but we'll see. As I always say every year, I hope this is the year it ends. Um, but I feel like I've been saying that since 2022. On that one. But I do hope this is the year it ends. And I think, as always, we want Ukraine to go into these negotiations with the strongest hand possible. And I think that's really where they are going to be entering into this at the moment. And I don't know if you saw they did an interview with a commander not too long ago on the Ukrainian front and from Ukraine, and he basically said, right, over the next 6 months, like watch this space because we're going to be making some pretty, you know, big moves. But
Yeah.
again, it's war, it's propaganda. Believe it or don't. But they've got a massive kill box now set up apparently
So just
in South.
explain what a kill box is.
So essentially, what they have done is they've made it a zone, an area where anything that is Russian is basically being blasted to pieces.
Ah.
This means supplies aren't moving, troops aren't even moving. They've given up in like southern Ukraine. The
Yeah.
Russians have completely given up, like trying to get casualties out because they're
They're losing
medivacs
people
and
when they're
yeah,
trying to get people out, aren't they? But
yeah.
also, they
So
don't really care too much.
yeah.
They kill a lot of their own soldiers. They tie them to a tree and fucking kill them. This is a huge problem that's going on in the Russian to increase morale amongst the other
Yeah, you have to.
troops.
I have to wonder if at what point might the mutiny. I mean, we saw the like the Wagner coup
Yeah,
happen, um, and that was like shocking in itself. But if it is to happen, then something would need to like I don't know. They'd need like a general or someone to like rally round.
yeah.
But you never know what might happen. And like an uprising like that. It happened in World War One. The French soldiers went on strike at one point during World War
Right.
One. The Russian soldiers, of course, when the Russian Revolution started to kick off, they like refused to sort of follow orders. They refused to
Well, that's
advance.
why they stopped in
Um,
1917, didn't they?
yeah. So there is precedent of like maybe something like this happening, but it's just what's going to cause it.
Be
Um,
interesting at the mutiny against the mutiny against Putin begins in the
mhm.
army. And then they start like writing home saying, "Listen, this guy's an idiot. He's going to get us all killed." Then the family, the relatives. I mean, there's thousands of people now in Russia
Well,
who are
that's what's been
bereaved,
that
who've
has
lost
been
their
happening
sons.
as well because they can't keep this death toll like bottled up. The only reason I think they've been getting away with it is they've been sort of mass recruiting in like the areas that Putin needs to maintain power. So that's like the Moscow area and the area around Moscow and like right up to St. Petersburg.
Yeah,
Um, in and around there. They haven't been like recruiting from those areas. They've been recruiting from every other area except that one. And I think that's how they've managed to get away with it. Just pulling what they can. But whenever like the BBC or journalists have like gone and done reports, they were just like they'll go to like a Russian like town like close to the Urals, and they've got this massive graveyard of
Yeah.
like all the people that have been like thrown into this this meat grinder that they've got going on. So it's just how long can they really cover it up? And certainly post the war, I don't think they'll cover this up at all. You had the very embarrassing situation for Putin where they asked for a ceasefire. And I think Zelensky's response was, "Yes, we will allow you to have your parade today."
Yes, I saw that. That was
Yeah,
genius. I mean, the thing about Zelensky, and I know this war isn't just one person, but he genuinely is the Winston Churchill of
yeah,
Ukraine because he's fucking good, just like Winston Churchill was and Neville
yeah,
Chamberlain wasn't. He's fucking good at marketing. He's good
yeah.
at
You
getting the
like to say
message out.
in situations like this, that's sort of the type of leader you need. They may not necessarily be like good at everything, but
Yeah,
when he gets out his messaging out and things like that, getting
yeah,
support, he's good at what he does. He's very, very good
yeah, yeah.
at doing the job that he does, on that one. So,
Chris C, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. First super chat of the evening. Thank you, Chris. The Russians have always used the meat grinder method to fight battles. They just throw men at the enemy. They use the method in both world wars. Yeah. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It worked in World War II, I guess. But would it have worked had the Germans not also been fighting on the Western Front and also down in
yeah,
Africa?
and the Germans not having their own, because there's a lot of like mythologizing and like shall we say untruths about the Eastern Front
Yeah,
that's gone over the years on that front. But you look at the modern situation now where Russia is, if you look at Russia and where it surrounds Ukraine, you'd be thinking they'd be like constantly attacking on all fronts, pushing forward, into Ukraine, attacking along all angles, making use of their like numbers superiority. They're not even doing that.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
attacking across like a very narrow, tiny area,
yeah,
and they are losing hundreds of thousands for it. And the what is it? Strategical operational ability, I think it's called, what generals call it. And this again happened in World War One. The Germans went into World War One with like the best like conscript
yeah,
trained army in all of Europe. They had all the supplies, the material they needed, and then by the end of World War One, they could not fight like on a single front. They could not even fight across like the Western Front in itself.
yeah,
And they were only like reduced to then attacking in like very single like small points.
yeah,
Uh, and then even they, had to admit that they couldn't continue fighting.
yeah,
Um, so it just comes to a point of might you get a Ludendorff and Hindenburg situation where like one of the Russian like or some of the Russian generals just go to Putin and go, right, we cannot continue fighting.
yeah,
Basically,
yeah,
the army is spent. We cannot continue fighting. We cannot take any strategical advantages. There's constant mutinying. Like we can't fight. So
yeah,
you have to wonder if that might happen as well.
yeah.
But
Well,
who's going to be brave enough to do that?
SG in the chat, does Iran war mean fewer Shahed drones are blasting Ukraine, or is Russia more self-sufficient with respect to their manufacture? And One Angry Pagan, hey, One Angry Pagan, he's been away for a little while, so hi, how you doing, mate? I hope you're all right. Responded, they're creating their own, but they're worse with worse and worse materials. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they managed to move back 90% of the production of the Shahed drone production has been moved to Russia. So it hasn't affected them that much. But having said that, they're making thousands of drones a month. Ukraine at the moment is making 8 million drones a year. And they reckon that
They
if
have.
they had enough money, they could
Yeah.
make 20 million drones a year.
Not only that, but they've made their own like intercontinental, well, not intercontinental missile, but they've made their own missile that they've developed during this war, and that's what you've seen
Yeah.
Do a lot of like long range strikes as well, mostly because of if you remember, we talked about the Taurus missile from Germany that Ukraine really wanted to do like long range attacks into Russia.
Yeah.
They've basically built their own version of Taurus with French and British backing as well. to build and develop this missile, which is why it's developed and I think built so quickly. So that's being really effective what they're using on the battlefield. We've also seen very recently when Putin was having his own business summit in St. Petersburg, they attacked the oil refineries in St. Petersburg. You know, not the best, shall we say, look for a leader like Putin, when you've got, you know, massive like business conference meant to like sell Russia to the world, and you've got air raid sirens going off, and there's massive black plumes of smoke drifting across the city because they've stripped the oil terminals there. So
yeah,
yeah, it's not looking good. And they even took out another boat on the Baltic Sea.
yeah.
So you know, Ukraine doesn't even have it doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have a port, shall we say, on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
on
no,
that
they don't have a
side.
navy. They don't have a navy, and they've taken out the entire, well, pretty much the entire Black Sea fleet. They've had to move
Yeah.
away from Sebastopol. So, you know, the whole thing about invading Crimea was to secure the base at Sebastopol, because they were worried, because they were leasing it from the Ukrainians. The Russians were leasing it from the Ukrainians, and they were worried that the lease was going to end and they were going to be told to fuck off. And they've had to move it anyway. So, you know, every single objective that Putin had in this war has just gone to shit. And you were saying about St. Petersburg, that footage of the oil refinery on the edge of St. Petersburg going up while they're having like an equivalent to the G7 conference there. There were a couple of twats from America there going, oh, you know, what's going on here? Talking to twats from America. Steve Bannon's there today, and Tommy 10 names. And apparently people in the chat were telling me that Andrew Tate's there as well in Moscow.
Well, that's not a surprise. That
Now's
should
a good
be at that
time to
point.
rain fire from above. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
at that point, I wish the British
Ukraine.
government at that point would just go, well, you've gone to Russia.
Yeah.
You know, no passport back for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, you know, oh, come into this room, and now we're gonna, you know, strip search you and know and examine and in-depth question you about what you've been up to in Russia.
Yeah.
I hope that happens when he gets back, but we'll see.
I mean, yeah. It should be in jail. It should be absolutely. Him and Farage should definitely be in jail. I can't believe we allow them to walk about and mess things up for other people and just ruin people's lives.
And I just want to touch again on, because you mentioned, like, you know, Russia's failed strategic objectives. One of the objectives was not like to stop the expansion from Russia, because part of the reason they were going to war with Ukraine was they wanted to join NATO.
Yes.
Sweden and Finland have joined NATO, expanding, you know, NATO. Mission failed at that one.
Apologists for Russia will say, but there was a promise made that Ukraine wouldn't join NATO. Okay, a couple of things to that. First of all, there wasn't. Secondly, if there was, no one recorded it. You know, it's an oral contract, not worth the paper it's printed on. And thirdly, excuse me, first of all, you know, what the fuck's it got to do with Russia? But thirdly, they weren't trying to enter NATO at the time. They were not trying to get into NATO. I mean, it had been slightly, but they weren't an official candidate member. Like, they were more interested in getting into the EU. The big problem for Russia was they had a puppet leader in there in 2014. He got taken out by a popular revolt against him. They had a democratic election and they elected a new president who wasn't Zelensky, by the way. He came along 5 years later. And they're going, oh, we're taken over by Nazis. I'm like, oh, so what they did, the first thing they did was they went, okay, well, when we get a new president in, we're going to make it a Jewish guy. And we'll make the prime minister a Jewish guy as well. Okay. That's the sort of thing Nazis do, you know. Jewish people in charge of the country. That's what Hitler did, if you think about it. But yeah, so I just, any justification for this, and you see it from tankies all the time, and you get it from the far right, are just like, oh, well, you know, it's all Ukraine's fault. Ukraine.
Have you seen the stuff that's kicked off in Ireland this week over this?
In Ireland?
Yeah, so not. I know there's obviously been riots kicking off in Belfast, but for those who haven't seen, there's been a big furore on Twitter because there was a journalist. I can't remember what his name now. Colin
Firth.
Might be. I can't remember what his second name is, but yeah, he's from Ireland, and he's been doing a lot of covering of the Ukraine war. He actually does some really, really good reporting on the Ukraine war. He's very, very good. If you want to go check out his stuff, he did a big report about a aluminium refinery in Limerick, that's Russian owned and is like shipping aluminium to Russia, and that has caused a massive stink in Ireland over that. That's come out. So
Kalen Robertson.
that's it.
Yeah, Kalen. I follow him on TikTok. He puts out some really good stuff. You know, he's just got like some kind of Congressional Medal of Honor from
Yeah,
the Parliament
yeah.
over
I think that's really good there
in
actually, because
Ukraine.
they've praised. Well, Zelensky's done like awards for like journalists who have been like covering this war, um, and giving them awards for their coverage. And like I say, he's got one because he's done some really good coverage. And others have like gotten the as well. And I think that's the type of thing you need more of. I think like saying, yeah, this journalist is like really good. His coverage has been like really good of the situation. So we're gonna give him an award. And I know there are like other awards out there for for journalists, but to do that kind of thing, especially when or a lot of this war has been very much like a propaganda war, like
Yeah,
not fought in the US, but fought for like international public opinion, of the war. Um, they've needed, organizations and independent journalists like this to go in and say, like, this is what's going on in Ukraine,
yeah,
and push back against the Russians that are doing exactly the same thing on this. So that has been, I think, something really, really good to see, that like the pushback that has been against all the Russian disinformation that's been coming out about this. I mean, at one time when all this started, it was everywhere at one point. It was absolutely everywhere.
yeah,
And it was then they started really fighting back against it. And it's still out there. Don't get me wrong, it's not like gone away or disappeared, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be.
yeah,
Um, certain places it absolutely is,
yeah,
in certain, tanky corners of the internet. But, other areas, you've had some great journalists really pushing back, against all this stuff. So that's been
yeah,
really great to see.
yeah. It's been fantastic. But yeah, Kalen, he works with our friends at Byline Media. So yeah, seems like
Yeah,
a good lad.
he'd honestly be
He used to
really
be in the
great to
far
speak
right. You
to.
know, do you know he used to do far right stuff? He got
Oh,
indoctrinated into the far
yeah.
right, and I think it was the massacre at the mosque at Christchurch in New Zealand, and that was like the final straw, and he left, and he regards himself as like someone who's come out of a cult, like someone who
Mhm.
that was about 6-7 years ago now. So he seems like a good lad.
Yeah, he'd be great for
Oh,
someone
we
to
got
speak to.
someone.
I'd love to
Someone's
speak to him.
gone. Someone's been kicked out.
Nope.
You're all beyond help. You thought the penny might have dropped the thousandth time you make excuses for foreign murderers, but there's no breaking the condition. Oh well, whoever that was who was saying that has been kicked out by our mods. So all I can say is bye bye idiot troll. Bye bye idiot troll. Now you can continue to watch if you like. You just can't comment. You're like a eunuch at an orgy. But yeah, apparently the Ukrainians are the baddies, don't you know? Because
Yeah.
they're the ones who invaded Russia in my upside down world. Because I don't know what happens in the real world because I've never lived here. I just get all my information off the internet. But yeah, in the 1990s, early 90s, Ukraine had nuclear weapons. And they said, we don't want these. And they said, okay, well, we'll give them back to Russia, right? And we won't invade you. We'll respect your boundaries. We'll
Yeah, and
respect
like I say,
your boundaries. And a typical
we in
man
the
turns up,
US,
not respecting the boundaries.
yeah, and we in the US said, if that ever happens, we will come to your aid.
Yeah,
In that, and I think I think it's you can talk about maybe what that aid was meant to be, but I think the UK can very much hold its head up high and say we have helped the UK, as have most of Europe. I mean, I don't know if people talked about this before, but the Netherlands, since this war, since 2022, has been paying for like the Ukrainian civil service. They are the ones who've been
all
helping
right.
to pay the wages of the Ukrainian civil service
Yeah,
on that one. So a lot of Europe has helped out in a lot of very good ways on that one. So
yeah,
that's been was and always something really good to see.
yeah.
The international community come together on that one.
But it is fascinating. There are people out there who are on the side of Gaza and Russia. And you're like, so it's not all right to invade your neighbor and kill everyone if it's in the Middle East, but if it's in Europe, it's fine. You're doing the same thing. You're invading your neighbor who don't really want you to invade, and you're dropping bombs on them, and you're killing innocent children.
Yeah, I still don't understand how people can't get around that. I just don't understand.
What about all the children who were
the logic
kidnapped
on that one.
by the Russians? Thousands of children
Yeah.
kidnapped to be brought up as Russians. Now, I bet you any fucking tanky who goes, "Oh, I love Putin. He's doing the right thing. You know, the Ukrainians deserve that," would be absolutely apoplectic if they were reading or listening about what happened with the stolen generations in Australia, or the children of the First Nations that were taken from the indigenous families in Canada and brought up to be raised in a white way. They're going to be brought up by white people, you know, because the indigenous people didn't know what they were doing, apparently. And we're doing this for their own good. It's for their own good. And the same thing's happened to Ukrainian children. They're being kidnapped, taken to Russia to be brought up Russian. And if you tell me for 1 second they ain't being abused, I've got a bridge to sell you, you know. But yeah, it does seem a bit weird, like the cognitive dissonance to say, yeah, this invasion and brutal murder is okay, but the other one isn't.
Yeah, it's really weird. Well, there was one example this week. I don't know if you know Ilhan Omar. She's like quite a progressive senator in America. She's pretty much like AOC over there, and she voted against the new sanctions against Russia. And her justification was well, we don't want to put more sanctions on like the Russian people. But she has constantly been in favor of like boycotts, sanctions, and divestment of Israel.
Yeah.
And like, if you're willing to go that far, you know, for Israel, why doesn't the same then apply to Russia on that one? But again, sometimes it's odd. I think this war, honestly, first of all, I think the good thing about this, I say quote good in you know air quotes,
I get
but it has sort of, I think, exposed a lot of the tankies that were in like the left. I think of people who didn't really realize that, you know, they had you know these you know sympathies. So that's one thing I think that's I think, you know, showed the separation is on that one.
Yeah, definitely. In the chat, that's because the majority of those who support what Putin is doing seriously need their electronic devices checking, if you get my drift. Yeah.
A lot of it goes back to like the USSR thinking like, oh, that like Russia and Putin is somehow like continuing like the USSR. But this is why you also see a lot of support for Russia in Africa.
Yeah.
Because like the USSR did help a lot of like colonial and post-colonial countries back in the day, but that wasn't for any like, you know, doing it out of their own, you know, goodness, out of the kindness of their heart. They were doing it because it was, you know, game of influence. You know, they were playing the great game, trying to like influence, like, oh, we are helping you to liberate yourselves, and then when the time comes, you know, you'll help us in that fight. And that's why you've seen a lot of mercenaries from Africa, you know, that have been brought over to be thrown in this meat grinder.
When I was traveling through Africa, there were a lot of places that had very strong ties with Russia. So much so, I met people from, especially like old Portuguese colonies like Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau and Mozambique, who had Russian names. They were called Vlad and Dmitry and Alexei. You're like, okay. Hi. But yeah, the huge influence during the 20th century. And it was bad. When the Americans went in there, it was bad. When the Europeans went in there, it was bad. I'm not going to like one group of people going to someone else's place and fucking shit up and saying, oh, we're actually helping, really, if you think about it. I'm not going to say it's ever good. Do you know what I mean? But to look at the same situation and go, oh, it's okay if they do it. You know, how could you do that in the terms of justice? How could you look at someone who's murdered someone and go, that's all right, they do it. You know, in cold blood, someone who actually didn't deserve it at all. Oh, but it's okay if they do it. It's okay if they abuse children. It's okay if they invade their neighbor. But, you know, if that one does it, no, they can't do it. No. And I don't know. It's just a weird level of cognitive dissonance, which is quite prevalent amongst some parts of the left, unfortunately, which is a bit shit, to be honest with you. But the EU's preparing a 21st century boy. No, a 21st sanctions package is being, which will see about 90 Russian banks being targeted. I mean, you got to wonder about these sanctions, Ollie, because they've done 20 of this before. It's not really made much of an impact.
This is it. When you're sanctioning an economy, an economy doesn't fall overnight. It teeters on the edge, and then eventually something happens and falls. And what hasn't happened yet in Russia is they haven't had yet an event that has caused their collapse. There's rumors about like how high their inflation is. I mean, they used to lie constantly about how high the inflation was in Russia. And I think they came out. I think it was at some point last year they came out and said, "Well, inflation might be about 20% now." Still, I don't think that being honest about the rate of inflation, but
they're not honest about anything, Ollie.
Yeah, we did talk not too long ago about a paper on this. I think if you remember, we talked about an economic paper that was looking at all the data within, and like business rates and business loans are like going under over there, and it's not good. It's really not good. But this is the type of thing you have to do. And I think even post this war, Russia is in for a ton of very bad economic problems. One of the biggest ones is how are they going to pay the pensions for all these soldiers?
Well, they're
and
is
Vladimir Putin going to keep his word and actually give
that? You have to pay those pensions. If you don't have to pay the pensions, they're dead, I guess. Well, I'm sure their next of kin will kick off about it, but
yeah, exactly. That's going to be a massive problem, because a very big like influential group in Russia is I can't, what's it called now? It's I think it's like Russian widows or something like that came together certainly after Afghanistan.
Yeah,
and they came together after this, and they've sort of been a very, very sort of big influential group on this, and they've always sort of been pro this war. But after this, when you start to see like more and more people like who are joining of course the organization and are complaining about they're not getting the pension, or they're not getting the full pension that they were promised, that's going to kick off eventually, sooner or later. So that's going to be something that Putin's going to have to deal with.
What a time to be alive, Ollie. What a time to be alive. So what else is going on in the world? Anything happening in Argentina at the moment? Is Milei still alive?
Milei is at the moment. Milei, they've had inflation go down recently, which I think has given them some more breathing room. So it's gone down to like by about 2%, from what I think I remember off the top of my head. So it's given them a little bit more breathing room, but still, Milei's economic experiment is very questionable.
Yeah,
and how long that will last. Because they were almost at one point, if Trump hadn't come and bailed them out, that could have been, good night Irene for the Argentinian economy on that one. But it's just how long now is that going to sustain them?
Yeah.
And I think the lowering of inflation might have brought them probably a bit more time. But the question is, how much time has it bought them on that one? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah. I mean, the World Bank and the IMF are going, yeah, this is great, you're getting the inflation down, but the way he's going about it is just setting up problems for the future.
Poverty has skyrocketed because Argentina, prior to this, they had a load of like social programs, like public transport was like subsidized. And in places like, if you've ever been to Rio, not Rio, can't remember what the capital's called now.
Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires, yep. If you've ever been to like the city there, it's massive. To get around that city, you've either got to have a car or you've got to use public transport.
Yeah.
And public transport, you now have to pay for it. With poverty on the rise as well, how much more problems does that now cause for a lot of poor people that now maybe can't afford to go to work, or there's a lot of problems over there. And it's just, again, like the question of Russia, what's going to be the thing that goes up and pushes it over the edge on that one?
Yeah.
And of course, one angry pagan, I see, Milei making noises about Argentina again. Um, so that is something else to watch out for. I don't think they'll generally go for it again, um, like last time, because I don't think Argentina is in any state to actually do that type of operation again. But if he's friends with Trump, then can he maybe influence Trump a bit to maybe help out or do something? I don't know. I don't think America's going to suddenly come in and take like the Falklands or something like that. But he might decide to go, oh well, if you try to take the Falklands, we're going to sanction you or something like that. So
Yeah.
that could be something to watch out for if they do decide to watch out for that. But we'll see. But Millet isn't the best, shall we say, on friendly terms with Trump, mostly because they had a falling out.
Oh,
Just after they,
what did they have a falling
so
out with? Because he gave him
well,
40 million and used $5 bills, didn't he?
yeah. Well, this is
$40
what
billion.
happened after, because they
Jesus.
did a trade deal with Argentina, and this trade deal with Argentina has massively undercut like American farmers,
Yeah.
and especially like the American beef farming industry as well. And a lot of people in the Trump administration, like Rubio and Vance, do not like that has happened. So that's been a big point of contention in there. That's why we say they haven't done maybe anything more on the Argentinian front for the time being.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we've also we're seeing China returns to Pyongyang. We had Xi Jinping arriving for arrived in North Korea for a high-profile visit. There was a hilarious picture on the front cover of the Financial Times today, and Kim Jong Un does have the stupidest fucking haircut. I mean, like there are some stupid haircuts out there, but it's just like straight off the top. It's like his head is just like
the dictator.
Yeah. Can you do me the dictator cut?
Yeah.
But relations between China and North Korea had actually cooled since the pandemic. But it looks like they're maybe getting back on track now, which is good news for North Korea. North Korea's been doing very well out of Russia, and that's why Russia's been getting their young men to go over and die in eastern Ukraine, because they're like, we'll give us some people and we'll give you some money, we'll give you some.
And then that's what caused South Korea to go, what, you're supplying men? Okay, here's all these artillery shells. Take them.
Yeah.
And remember, like North Korea is like, well, not North Korea, but South Korea, in like the NATO league table, they're like one of the highest producers of artillery shells in the world.
Yeah.
So when that happened, that was a big the boost to Ukraine on that one when that started happening.
Yeah. It's really grim stuff. Can we please stop living in interesting times, says Davinator. Yes, my friend, I couldn't agree more. Chris, he says, breaking news, a group of at least 100 masked men have walked down Station Road at White Abbey, just north of Belfast, turned off into Abbeyville Street and start throwing stones at a house. Jesus. Russia has also caused a lot of shit in Africa. Let's be honest. The Wagner group was originally plundering places in Africa. Yeah,
the Africa Corps, as they're now called.
Absolutely were. We've got some breaking news coming on the BBC. Don't know. So they'll be start saying something in a minute. I can't actually hear it. I don't know what the sound on. But now, you said now. That's what he said now.
Subtitles
now,
not coming
here
up.
is the police. Police are appealing for calm after a knife attack. Okay, so it's not about Trump. It's not about the big beautiful day. It's all right. It's really windy and rainy outside. I don't want him to go today. I want him to go on a really hot sunny day. Probably in the morning, so we could just drink all afternoon.
Did you hear about the 8 people have been injured near the UK's camp or England's camp in Missouri?
Yeah, with stabbing. Someone going around was it a shooting or a stabbing?
It was a shooting.
Shooting, sorry. But it's like 9 people have been injured, right?
Yeah,
it's right next to where England are playing.
Yeah,
you know what?
Like
if that had happened in South Africa, if that had happened in South Africa and they've been staying in Johannesburg or something, and something like that had happened, really, imagine what the tabloids would be saying right now. Oh my God, we're going to die. But because it's America, they get given a let.
Well, I don't think it's. I think it's just a regular routine in America. Oh,
I know,
what?
that's
There's a
what I mean. They
shooting.
get, they get it out.
Oh,
It's like,
right.
oh, well, that happens
Yeah.
all the time, whatever. We don't care.
Yeah.
But
Did you also see the Somalian refugee? Not the refugee. The referee. Sorry. Yeah, the referee.
Careful,
Yeah,
careful. Not all
the
Somalis are
referee
refugees. A
um
referee.
has been denied
Yeah, he's been
entry.
denied access to the US,
Yeah.
even though he's a professional referee. Has been for years. He's Africa's. I think he's Africa's top official as far as the referee status is concerned. I don't know if there's a league table of referees, but he's really, really highly regarded in the sport. And FIFA had his back. Oh no,
Yeah.
they just waved at his back as he turned around and had to go home. They released a statement saying, yeah, he's not going to play. Sorry, he's not going to officiate any matches.
Yeah, and have you seen they've what detained and searched like other like teams from countries coming in. They've started
Yeah.
Searching them, and you're like, oh, what? We're not racist. I mean, look at this other team that we're now searching. They just started to try and deny it. So they're now searching pretty much every single World Cup team entering the US just to try and deny that they aren't racist, because they only searched the coloured teams coming in to America before they got called out on it.
Apparently, organised crime is cashing in on the World Cup at the moment.
That surprised me.
Ticket scams proliferating online, and one of the problems they've got is a load of touts bought tickets, because I don't think they have the same rule in the US that they do over here about football matches. You're not allowed to tout football match tickets or tickets to the Olympics when that was being held. You are allowed to still do it for gigs, which annoys me, but you couldn't do it. You couldn't resell them. You can in the US, I imagine, whatever. But apparently, the most of the tickets that have been sold, there's 180,000 tickets that haven't been sold, right? And a lot of the ones that have gone to touts who are now trying to offload them for less than they paid for them. I mean, look, it might all come together in the final edit, but it is. I mean, we're literally 2 days away from the kickoff in Mexico City of this. I'm sure it'll be fine in Mexico. I'm sure it'll be fine in Canada, but the US matches, people in Scotland were told that they could go there. They got their ESTAs, their electronic travel authorization, and then the US turned around at the last minute and said, no, you can't have it. You can't come in. We don't want you here.
Yeah. Just, I think it's going to be a bit of a disaster, this World Cup. And then you're going to have the Freedom 2050 concert, which is going to be probably its own disaster when that happens.
Yeah. Maggie Paisa just asked some Israeli Netanyahu supporters why they support him. I got some quite interesting answers, to say the least. What did they say? Because Netanyahu's been causing fucking havoc now for like, God's been 30 fucking years. More than 30 years. He's a one-man demolition fucking derby. He just ruined stuff all around him. Same with Trump, same with Putin, and same with Farage, the four pony men of the apocalypse. But yeah, I don't know. Tell us what, Maggie. Tell us what they were saying. But yeah, there's also been a massive earthquake in the Philippines. There's also been an earthquake off the coast of Cuba as well, which has affected Florida, but that wasn't quite as big as the one that hit the Philippines. 37 people reported dead in the Philippines. There was a former Air Canada pilot who's been charged after allegedly flying 16 years, 900 flights without a license.
Just get away with it. This is like the story. One of my favorite stories was there was a guy I heard about. He worked, I think, in the civil service, I think, in Spain, and he managed to he didn't get fired. What he did was he created a job title for himself, and then no one knew what he did, but they continued to like hire him and keep him around because he had that job title. No one like disturbed him or asked what he was doing. And the reason why I think he ended up being caught was they looked on like his social media and someone saw, oh, he's at this event. Shouldn't he be in his office working? And they went to see and he wasn't in his office, and that's how he ended up being caught.
Oh my God.
So
that's crazy.
That was that's always a funny story on that one.
That is mad. Oh, my mum's watching. Hi, mum. How you doing?
Woo-hoo.
Hope you're all right. Hey, listen, we've only got about 12 minutes left. So if someone wants to drop in a couple of little super chats, we can unleash the confetti cannon. Although I've already done it once because Sarah Davis has found a flat to live in. Yay!
Woo.
So we're excited about that. And we've also got Andrew Ray saying, guess what? My Virgin flight to Miami next week has been cancelled. No reason but to suspect not enough seats sold. I mean, I even the people, like, so few people that I've heard of wanted to go to this World Cup in America because of all the security concerns and the fact they want to know what's on your Facebook and they want to know what charities.
Well, it's not just that, but tourism has been going off a cliff edge.
Oh, yeah,
for America.
Yeah.
And if you want an example, go and have a look at like because there's a lot of like influencers in Las Vegas where they do like videos about like, this is what you can do in Las Vegas. And like, I'm the guy you go to. If you want to come to Las Vegas, I'll show you all the best things. They've been doing videos now for like the past like year or so going, this is the strip like 2 years ago. Like this is what it's like. You can see like the strip's full of people going out, like people all around this casino floor. And then they changed now and it's like empty. And you're like, if people aren't doing that, and then Miami as well is doing very bad as well for tourism.
Yeah,
that's suffering. Disney World has like reported like massive lower numbers of foreign tourists coming to the parks as well. All the parks out in Florida are like reporting lower visitor numbers. So it's proving to be very bad for tourism on this front for them.
Well, but I was going to say, like, there's loads of people who don't want to go because of all these things that have been reported. But then to say to the people who do want to go, who have bought a flight, bought a ticket to a match, bought a hotel to stay in, to say the week before they're going to come, you can't come. Like, are they ever going to go to the US again for the rest of their lives after doing that? Do you know what I mean? When there's nothing that exists in the US that a better version of doesn't exist somewhere else.
Yep.
Just
Oh, speaking of this, did you hear about the screw worm?
Yes.
In America.
Yeah, the screw worm is back.
Yeah, this is going to really cause problems
screw worm's back
for Trump. Because this all came in with
it's going to make burgers more expensive.
Yeah, this
screw worms attack cows.
Like Kennedy, he got rid of like all the testing sites for this. So if the screw worm does come in, there's nowhere you can go for testing. There's no like government advice on what to do if you find like your cattle has been infected. There's no like government response team like we would have if if you remember when foot and mouth happened, and if you ever went to the countryside around that time, there were like people in big white suits walking around spraying your tires down, or you've been walking, like, remember to dip your feet in this in this disinfectant so it doesn't spread. Nothing like that happening at all in America. This is like a really bad like infectious parasite that's going around. Just it's screw worm, so it literally dives into and burrows into these cows and causes them immense pain on this one. And then you can't sell the meat afterwards because it's technically contaminated. And all this is because of the Trump administration and some of the decisions they took very early on in coming in this, getting rid of all those experts right at the start of it.
Yeah. Hidden Knight says, I wouldn't go to the US ever now, like the amount of shit going off over there from ice to viruses. Yeah. I mean, you might get fucking measles and fucking die. They brought it back. They brought it back, Ollie. They brought back some measles. Maggie says, in response to like why people defend Netanyahu, they essentially says that nobody what any Israeli PM does. The world will always hate Israel because they just hate Jews. They also think that October the 7th is evidence they need someone like Bibi. Bibi caused October the 7th. He was. I genuinely held him responsible for that happening.
Yeah, he was definitely.
Yeah. And as far as this idea that I've heard from people in Israel as well, everyone hates us anyway, so we might as well be horrible. You fucking idiots, because there's a lot of people who don't hate Israel, especially people in government around the world. And if those people have got no justification for continuing to support Israel, then Israel's going to have no friends in the world. It does at the moment. It had a lot more friends 3-4 years ago before all this kicked off. But like, going, oh, everyone hates me, I'm going to shut everyone out of my life. It's something that a fucking alcoholic will do. And that's what Israel is behaving like at the moment, an alcoholic pushing their friends away and just pissing everyone off. And
Italy,
they're going to be left alone.
Yeah, I don't know if you know about this, because of you remember the aid flotilla not too long ago that that they intercepted, and they then decided to use this like propaganda purposes, and they've like really badly treated those people. Well, Italy, one of like probably like the countries in Europe that is like massive like friends with Israel, decided it's now bringing prosecution against some of the people in the senior Israeli government. I can't remember what his name is now. Ben Gvir, that's it, the national security minister.
He is a piece of shit, that man.
Yeah, they're coming out like with like stuff against him. You're like, yeah, you're really turning everyone against you. Even like one of the countries that is like massively supportive of Israel. And bear in mind, Italy supplies a heck of a lot of weapons to Israel as well. Not a lot of people talk about that, but they are like one of the highest like weapon suppliers in Europe.
Yeah.
Like, we barely we do supply like some weapons, but we barely supply any like components. It's something like less than 2%.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Germany's like 30%. Italy is like 40%, something like that, of like weapons it supplies out from its outgoings to countries.
We've recognised Palestine officially. Our government has recognised Palestine. That wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And to Maggie, if you ever talk to these people again, are they fucking stupid? Because it's not just Israel. This is the thing that I don't understand. I don't think people. I don't think people in Israel are dense as fuck, but they must be pretty fucking dense if they can't see that what they're doing and the horrors that they are inflicting onto the world in Iran, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and in Gaza and in the West Bank. This is all giving rise to a wave of anti-Semitism around the world, not just in Israel. It's not just the countries around Israel that don't like Israel and never have liked Israel. These are in countries where Jewish people felt safe, and now they don't feel safe. And there is a part of me that thinks, actually, this might all be part of the plan for Netanyahu to make Jews feel unsafe wherever they are in the world and force them to leave their family, their friends, everything they know, and move to Israel to get more people working for the Israeli economy. I think that is sort of the black and white on that, and that if that's true, that is really fucking grim. He's prepared to do this to his own people, to make them suffer. And you're seeing a rise in anti-Semitism everywhere. And I really do blame Netanyahu. Not like entirely. Obviously, there are some other factors, but a huge, huge section of this has come from what's happened in Gaza. And people don't understand it. They're just like, well, why are you doing this? This is horrible. Ernie says they had a program in the 1960s that released sterile male flies that led to its US eradication, which they monitored 24. There was a breakthrough in Mexico. A Biden plane ended with a USA defund. I wouldn't say I hate Israel, but I do hate how Bibi made Israel citizens complicit to a genocide. Well, I mean, not everyone voted for him. This is the problem. If you go after a democracy where they do have fairly free and fair elections in Israel, not everyone voted for it. Not everyone in this country voted for Brexit. Not everyone in this country voted for Thatcher. One of the things you learn very quickly traveling the world is you can't judge a government. You can't judge a people by the actions of their government. You're going to go to Cambodia and go, oh, you all supported Pol Pot, you bastards. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them didn't. But yeah, that is so so grim. It really is grim. Have you seen the state of some parts of Israel though? I'm not sure Jewish people will be willing to move. Well, again, the concept of Israel was to provide a home where Jews would feel safe. It's failed. I'm not saying it's a failed state. I'm just saying it's failed in that stated aim to give Jewish people a place where they could feel at home and that they weren't going to feel like they were being abused. One Aggie Pagan, the US is fantastic for paleontology. At least it's got one thing going for it. I think we should dig up all their bones and steal them and put them in the British Museum. We did that everywhere else.
That's the British way.
It's a British way. And then we'll pass a law saying we can't give them back no matter what. No matter how much they beg, we will not give them back, says our 1955 museum law. Which is kind of crazy. Okay, are there any other stories we've got? We've got
yes, an actual. Let's end with this. We've had a massive clean energy milestone.
Oh yes,
on this one. So according now to the data tracking of the world's power grids, it is confirmed for the very first time that wind and solar combined have now generated more of the world's electricity than gas for the first time in over a monthly period.
Brilliant.
So that is
first time in history. First time in history.
Very good, I think. And it just goes to show you that, all these, this net stupid zero stuff, no, it can provide power. It can provide a heck of a lot of power if you're willing to do it and invest in it. This is what is, again, so shocking about all these councils coming in and like getting rid of like all these, solar farms that were planned, or wanting to block solar farms or things like that. It's it's madness. The evidence is all there that it all works, and no.
Well, it's not madness, is it? They're getting paid by the oil companies who want us to keep burning oil forever. So, it's not entire madness. But exciting stuff off the coast of Yorkshire, off your coast. There's Dogger Bank. There's 3 wind farms, massive wind farms. They're going to come online over the next year.
Yep.
And they're going to supply 5% of the entire power of Britain. The entire power needs of the entire island of Great Britain.
Yep.
From one wind farm. It's quite impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's another one coming online, maybe, or got to get built by 2030.
But reform. Oh well, we can't have all this.
I'll get rid of them.
Stuff.
Can't get rid of this good stuff, this free stuff. We don't want energy sovereignty. We don't want energy self sufficiency. We want to go to Russia and negotiate with the Russians for their oil, because I'm sure they'll never hold us over a barrel.
Yeah, I've just seen in chat. Andrew says, "Tell Kemi that. See how far she denies it." Did you see the statement that I think she made recently? That if the Conservatives ever get back into power, they're going to get rid of business rates. To which I laughed at.
Business rates, we can get rid of them.
Yeah, so they were in power for 14 years and they didn't get rid of them. And yet, not only that, because of them on austerity, many councils are basically surviving on business rates. That's why business rates have been going up and up, because that's how most councils have been able to survive and get their money from. If you take away business rates, a lot of I would say a lot of councils in this country are going to get into some very, very bad financial straits if they can't rely on business rates.
Yeah. Well, someone did the maths on because they were saying they were going to make taxation zero. They were going to put up the threshold for having to start paying tax from about £12,000, what it is now, up to £20,000. And someone crunched the numbers on it and went, "You're fucking crazy. That's going to blow such a hole in public expenditure." And they think, because they're idiots, right? And they're fucking morons. They went into all these councils around the country going, "Oh, we can just get rid of some council services. We just won't pick up the bins as often, and that'll save all the money." When that's the reality, that's not where all the fucking money goes. It goes into social services, which a lot of it is looking after
services or child
older
services.
people. Yeah. And then the dickheads get into power in government. They're going to be like, "Oh, we're going to cut all the taxes, from we don't need them." A lot of the money in the tax threshold is looking after. Sorry, not tax threshold. That is collected by the Chancellor's Exchequer is spent on benefits, but a lot of that benefit, over 50% of it, is pensions.
Yep, that's where all the benefit money goes, not into job joblessness payments. It goes into that joblessness payments. I can't even remember the name.
The dole.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And also, they're going to get rid of all this stuff, and they're going to go, "Okay, it's going to be great. We're going to get rid of all these taxes." And I'm like, so you're not going to have enough money to pay off the interest on the government gilts, on the government bonds that
which is what happened to Liz Truss.
And they're like, "What? We're not going to get paid. We're not going to get our money. Screw this. I'm going to sell my bonds." And then the gilt yield goes up through the roof.
massive disaster if they don't get in. And I'm honestly hoping people are like watching what's going on in these councils, because again, my council's just gone reform. Unfortunately, they came out very recently and said that there was a 30 million black hole in our council budget, which is absolutely not true, because councils by law are required to pass a balanced budget. You could never be able to get that passed if there was this 30 million black hole.
Why didn't they ask that guy in Thailand to pay it?
Well, exactly. But then it opens up some even more worrying accusations that they are making, because are you then accusing all the finance officers at Barnsley Council of being complicit in like a cover-up of this? And then not only that, there was an external auditor that obviously reviews the budget. Are you also accusing them of being involved in some financial cover-up as well? So it just hasn't flown at all, this claim that they keep on putting out, which is, it's good that they keep on getting called out for it, which I'm glad to see. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a video tomorrow, because I emailed my new reform councillors about them taking down the pride flag this month, and I've got a response from them, so I'm going to be doing a video about that tomorrow from the response that we got from them.
Yeah, Hi Gara says Durham is refuck and up to the taxes and lowered the services. Yeah, they did. Bastards. And they've taken down the pride flag, and they've taken down the Ukraine flag.
Yeah.
You know,
that's my next email to them as well. So yeah, now you've taken down the pride flag. What about the Ukraine? Yeah. I'm actually quite surprised. Two of them have responded. There's one guy, the last guy hasn't responded yet, which doesn't surprise me. Honestly, but we'll see.
Just to clarify, 58% of the DWP budget is spent on state pension and other pensionable benefits.
And like I say, triple lock, you might have to go.
The triple lock's going to have to go. It's got to go. I think we've been. You know what? It started off because the government's sometimes quite good at this. They'll just people will just mention it. You know, they'll get the outriders to go out and go, hey, have you thought about that triple lock? It does seem a bit mad. And then you get a few more talking heads going, oh, that triple lock, it's a bit unfair now, isn't it? I mean, it was fair at the time because pensions were so low, but pensions are quite high now, and people aren't really earning that much.
We really need to look at doing something with pensions. Really need to look at doing something with pensions, but it's such a political minefield. I mean,
I think we need to look at doing something with pensioners.
Winter fuel allowance. Look what happened with winter fuel allowance.
We'll keep the sexy ones.
Yeah, we'll keep the sexy pensioners.
We'll keep the sexy pensioners. The rest of them. 2 words for you, darlings. Soylent Green.
But you look at the winter fuel allowance, where there are pensioners out there who just do not need the winter fuel allowance at all. I think it should be means tested, and I get jumped on by a lot of people on the left for saying you don't want. It's like, but you're giving it to people who really don't need it.
Yes, giving it to millionaires.
Yeah.
You're giving free school. You're giving free school meals to millionaires.
Yeah, because again, that's free school meals being tested, isn't it?
No, not anymore. Well, no, it depends whether it is in London and not being tested anymore, which is good because there's no stigma around it, and it's fine. It's that's fine. But when the government is spending 58% of its benefits budget on pensions, and there are 1 in 4 pensioners are millionaires. I'm sorry, but come on. And if you want to open up more houses for families, we need to get rid of some of the older people who are living one person in a massive house on their own, which is ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, you're gonna have to downsize. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I think there should be some kind of thing where if you downsize, you buy a house that's worth less than the one that you've got, maybe. There's some kind of reduction on the stamp duty, because it is a little bit unfair if you have to downsize and you end up paying a massive £20,000 tax bill, which is a big disincentive to downsize. So I think once you reach a certain age, maybe there should be an incentive to downsize, which is, hey, if you downsize, we're not going to make you pay as much stamp duty, and get this, we're going to actually give you some pension, because you'll have less money overall. Or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we do need some I think new ideas putting in to the government. I mean, I think we should look at universal basic income as something that could be because I know there's There is a trial in Wales at the moment that's going on, which I'm really interested to see when the results come out. And it's the giving basically UBI to kids who have gone into orphanage and they're orphanages, they're coming out of care, and they're going to get that UBI from when they are 18 till they're about 22, I think it is. So I'm going to be very interested to see what that study comes out, because that's the UK's like official, like very first study of like UBI. Other countries have done other UBI studies.
Scotland's done some UBI stuff. Hasn't Scotland? I think it's the first thing in Wales. Actually. I'm sure Scotland have done some UBI stuff. But UBI would need a complete rejig of the tax system, and that's the issue. And our tax code, Ollie, it's like there's tax laws that go back to fucking Henry the fucking VIII or something. Do you know what I mean? That have just been tweaked over the years. I was talking the other day about VAT, and I said it was originally idea was going to be on luxury goods like cigars and cognac and stuff. And someone put in, it only came in the 70s going. I was like, yeah, I know, just to anyone who said that, I know that it came in the 70s, but the precursor to it was a luxury tax that was basically an excise on imported luxury goods that went to the government. So that's sort of what I meant. Anyway, just to clarify, I was right. That's the main thing. So yeah, anyway, we're 10 minutes over. Listen, if you just want to keep watching, we'll magically transport you after the credits over to our wonderful friend Maximilian Robespierre, who's talking about what's happening in Northern Ireland right now. So if you want to watch him, just keep watching this and say hello from us. Give a big wave from Ollie and Graham. And in the meantime, before you go, give us a thumbs up, give us a like. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and hit the bell notification icon to find out when we're going live next. I'll be coming out of the closet. I'll be getting up tomorrow morning, nice and early, 9 o'clock here on Hughes the World. I'll be doing my usual morning brew in the morning. I hope to see you then. And big shout out to my wonderful co-host, Ollie Bowlerhatman. And until we meet again, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.